Hello, this is an automatic translation of the keynote made with artificial intelligence. Dear friends, welcome to GeneXus Live 2024. During this keynote, our goal is to tell you three things. The first one is what is happening in software development. The second is what are we doing about it. But above all, what matters most to us is what opportunities are being generated by what is happening for the entire GeneXus community. So let's go a little bit to the first one. What is happening in software development? If I had to sum it up in a phrase, the summary would be simply exactly the slogan of the event, which is Enterprise Low-Code meets Generative AI. They are two technologies that had been developed more or less independently, and from the events of November 2022, when OpenAI launched GPT, they began to converge, to connect one with the other, to see what can be done, what can be achieved together, and that ends up generating a very interesting revolution. It is an important revolution that is the core of what we are going to be talking about today in this keynote. To try to explain a little better what is happening, let me say this. We see two revolutions happening, and these two revolutions are happening at the same time. The first revolution is that there is a major change in how we're going to develop and create software. It is the first time that we are going to be able to communicate with systems through natural language for the purpose of programming systems, and that is on everybody's lips. If you see the press, everywhere they will talk about the fact that GPT chat can be used to generate code, etc., etc. This is now commonplace. But there is also another revolution that is happening, which is much less talked about in the press, and that for us is as important or more important than the previous one, which is that the systems we are going to develop from now on are different from the systems we had developed before. So, well, one very interesting thing is that here at GeneXus, we are very used to handling and managing these revolutions, leveraging them and taking full advantage of them. We've always done this throughout our entire history. What is the difference now? Which is why I say that today is a tectonic shift that we are facing. It's just that now it's the first time these two things are happening at the same time. For example, in how to develop software, we are often faced with changes. Another example, at our beginnings when we started working with relational databases, or later when there were architecture changes and we went from client-server to 3 layers and then to microservices. Yeah, we always were able to handle those technological revolutions well. We also handled revolutions from the functional point of view very well. At a certain point, we were able to evolve from green screens to Windows screens. Then we evolved to web, and later even to mobile. What makes this moment different is that we have to attack. We have to solve both things at the same time. That had never happened before. When one thing happened, the other didn't happen. This is the first time that both things happen at the same time. What did we do? Well, first we started to recognize that we had to make a new version of GeneXus, a different version, because we had a whole roadmap of where we were going with GeneXus, and from November 22 we realized that we had to change, and we said ourselves that we had to do something we never dreamed we could do. We were always very proud of the GeneXus Code Generation capability, but we understood that we could and needed to go one step further to adapt to the changes we were noticing. We could take the step further, because if I know what I want to do, I don't have to write it explicitly in the GeneXus language if we can leverage these new types of artificial intelligence to assist us. For example, if I have to make a customer transaction, I can go to GeneXus and we start dreaming about it. Why not go to GeneXus and ask it, can you make for me a customer transaction? We could talk to GeneXus in Spanish, English, Portuguese, Japanese, and have it generate the attributes that are needed with the primary key that is needed, with the data types that are needed, etc., etc., etc. So what we envisioned was a different way of working. Working differently led us to build a new version of GeneXus. Armin Bachmann will soon tell you about all these GeneXus new capabilities, but the basic concept is that we are going to use natural language within GeneXus so that I can express what my intention is, what I want it to do, and get it done in a much faster and much more direct way than what I have to do if I had to write it as before in the GeneXus language. The interesting thing that happened to us when we started building this version of GeneXus Next, is that we started to see that we need a series of functionalities to work with generative AI that were not provided by platforms and that were not seen elsewhere. For example, we started to see that if we used one model, suddenly another model would come out, another LLM that could be better for one thing or another. When we started out just using OpenAI models, but then we moved on to using Google models, then meta models, and so on and so forth. We said, well, why not give this functionality the possibility to evolve the systems, to change models in an easier way? Then we said, well, if I prepare the prompts, which are the way I am going to work, why don't I have a version of that? And so on, always with the pragmatic approach that characterizes us. We started to say to ourselves, what we need, what we're talking about, is actually a new product. We need this new product, a whole new platform that allows us to, let's say, work with all the possibilities in this moving arena, that is all these artificial intelligence models and providers, that allows us to insulate ourselves from those model changes and to be able to move forward as quickly as possible. And so we came up with a product called GeneXus Enterprise AI, which we launched at the beginning of last year. And throughout this year, what we have seen is a tremendous adoption of the platform. We did have great adoption within the GeneXus community, and the platform also gained traction with Globant customers who are not GeneXus users. And throughout this process, this product is what allows us to define what we want to build, to create. In other words, when I want to create applications based on enterprise AI-based applications, I'm using this platform. What happened to us is that we said, from here, how do we advance? In a whole strategic discussion started within GeneXus and within Globant. What do we do with this product? Because it is a product that had two extremely important characteristics. First, it became a strategic AI platform. Anybody who wants to build enterprise applications using generative AI is going to need GeneXus Enterprise AI or a product similar to GeneXus Enterprise AI. We were sure. We found one extremely important area and opportunity. Second, the product itself is independent of GeneXus low code. We have many Globant customers, for example, who are not GeneXus customers and who use GeneXus Enterprise AI. And at the same time, we ourselves within GeneXus, we had a strong strategic need. How do we make this known to the world? How do we handle the branding for this platform? One of the options we evaluated, which is the one we ultimately chose, was to align this platform's branding with all the branding and marketing efforts that Globant is doing worldwide. So we decided to rename the product from GeneXus Enterprise AI to Globant Enterprise AI. So this is Globant Enterprise AI. It is our answer to the types of intelligent systems we will need to build moving forward. Let me give you a glimpse of what this type of system is all about, at least some initial ideas from our perspective. In a short while, Gisela will dive deeper into this and provide more details. But first, let's start with this. We're heading toward a new kind of user experience. To put it simply, the current user experience when interacting with a system can be summarized as point and click. In other words, I move the cursor using a mouse or similar device, click to select or interact, and then proceed. Essentially, point and click. I believe that we are going to a change where we are not going to have so much point and click, but what we are going to have is the user telling the systems and products and platforms what he wants. By telling, I mean writing or speaking it, interacting in a much more natural way. Let me tell you a concrete example. When we started this revolution, we came up with the idea of going to a friendly ERP, K2B, and we asked them a question, say, how many screens do you have? And he said, roughly speaking, 3,200 screens. And the question we asked him is, how do users know which of the 3,200 screens they have to go to? How do they manage? Because remember, someone who uses an ERP does not go into the ERP like they go into Instagram. They go in to see what's new. They go in because they have some intention. They want to know, for example, how much money a customer owes them, and not all users are the same. There are users who know more, then they point and click in the system and directly go to where they want, and there are users who know less, and because of this, it will take them much longer to get to what they want. We have the advanced users and the novice users. So we said, why don't we look for something totally different? Why don't we look for the user to tell us what they want? Let's say, what is their intent? And if he gives us that intention, then we can take him to the right screen, to where he wants to go. We tried this idea and tested it. We used Globant Enterprise AI on the back end to interpret the person's intent. And what we have today with K2B is a tremendous novelty from a user interface point of view. It starts as if it were a Google search box. Instead of appearing with a menu and a dashboard or whatever, it is a Google-like search box, and the user tells the intention they have, what they want. And what the system does is that it takes the user to the screen that responds to that intention. So the difference between expert user and novice user is disappearing. Also, the system became much easier to use. This is one of the examples of what I think are the new kind of user interfaces. But basically what I want to tell you is we are going to create user interfaces where the written or spoken conversation is becoming more and more important. The other thing that is happening is there are areas that are of interest to us that we were not interested in until now. Let me tell you two. The first one is text. Until now, text was not important to us. This has happened to us before in the past. A good example of this is the iPhone. Until the iPhone came along, phones weren't something we were particularly interested in. Phones didn't catch our attention. Do you know when they did start to interest us? When the iPhone came out and said, you can run an app on this device. Yes, when we realized we could create an app that runs on a phone with a good experience, that's when phones became an object of our interest. And that's when an entire new revolution began, the mobile revolution. Well, the same thing is happening now with text. Until now, when I went to a company and they told me they had some text, it wasn't something that caught our attention. We didn't do anything with it. At most, we would store it in a blob field within the database and provide a search mechanism that, at the time, seemed very advanced to us, but with the technology we have today, is extremely rudimentary. It was simply searching for a substring within that text and nothing more. Well, now that has totally changed. Now we can start making applications where the core of what we have to do is around the text and its information. In fact, today, when I normally go to a client, the first thing I do is ask them what text they have, because from there, we usually come up pretty quickly with how we can use generative AI to help them in productivity by handling the information contained in that text. The second area of interest around this was an area that in GeneXus we could say was a forbidden area since its inception. Since we started on this path decades ago with Breogan Gonda, we said to ourselves that we are never going to get into old handwritten code. If we had a customer who wanted to use GeneXus and had, for example, millions of lines of COBOL or RPG code, we would tell him that we had tools to help him with the data conversion, but not with the code conversion. Why did we have this position? Because we understood that getting into code conversion was Vietnam, something easy to get into, impossible to get out of. To understand what was the intention of a COBOL programmer when he wrote something 30 or 40 or 50 years ago was something that we thought was not possible, that we didn't have the technology for that. Well, now we are starting to find this legacy code interesting. Now we start to see that we have technology where, with Globant Enterprise AI, we start to be able to try to understand what was the intention that the COBOL programmer had 50 years ago when he wrote that code. In fact, we are already running some tests with this new approach. For now, it remains somewhat experimental, but we expect that soon the research and development team will deliver solutions and methods enabling us to tackle those large projects involving the conversion of very old legacy systems. These systems that are still working and still critical are often programmed in very old languages that few, if any, programmers still use today, for example, PL1. With these advancements, we aim to migrate them to new versions of GeneXus. So, this gives you an idea of some of the areas we're exploring. Let me summarize our response to these developments. First, we have GeneXus Next, the addition of GeneXus that integrates generative AI throughout the platform. Second, we have Globant Enterprise AI, which is the platform that enables the creation of AI-driven applications for the enterprise world. With this, I would like to welcome Gisela, who is going to tell us more in detail what these things, especially Globant Enterprise AI, are being used for in enterprises today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicolás. During this year, we have accompanied many organizations in the process of turning the promise of AI into concrete cases, tangible cases. Today, I'm going to tell you some of those stories of companies that have decided to implement an artificial intelligence strategy and have successfully managed that transition. In our experience, when an organization decides to implement AI, it does so with a specific goal in mind. In some cases, it is because they want to optimize existing processes, because they understand that by optimizing existing processes, they are able to increase productivity and reduce costs, or in some cases, reduce time. Let me share with you some concrete stories. The first one is from Montes del Plata. Montes del Plata is the main pulp producer in Uruguay. Already in 2023, they made a decision on implementing an AI strategy. And as the first case, they decided to implement it within the technology area. What they were looking for was to increase the productivity of the help desk. To give you an idea of the magnitude, the technology area in this company deals with more than 600 users who present their issues when a system does not work and also when they want to request new requirements, in a total amount of approximately 2,000 issues per month. In a year, that means approximately 25,000 issues to manage. Previously, this management was done in Jira, where they encapsulated all the requirements and issues to be able to follow up on all these requests presented by the company's users. With the implementation of an AI assistant, the help desk was able to make direct queries about the more than 250 systems they have within Montes del Plata and find the information to respond in an effective, clear, and precise manner. But there are also other cases, category of cases, in which organizations seek to increase or improve their customers' experiences. To tell you a story where we sought to improve the customer experience, we have to travel to Peru, specifically to get to know the company called RIMAC. Perhaps you don't know it, but RIMAC is one of the leading insurance companies in the region. Earlier this year, we were contacted about a concern they had. Within the organization, LLMs were starting to be used more and more, spreading rapidly across different departments. They needed to find or create an internal platform to effectively manage, monitor, and control them. It was at that moment that we were able to showcase to them the power and capabilities of Globant Enterprise AI. And not only that, we also helped them build their first AI agent, an artificial intelligence agent that was geared to help business advisors. To give you an idea, every time a customer calls RIMAC, the commercial advisors have to surf information to attend the request in different systems. Specifically, they search for answers in 5 different systems, ranging from a CRM, an ERP, a risk system, an insurance system, and so on. With the use of agents and artificial intelligence, a commercial assistant, a commercial advisor, what he can do today is to make the query in natural language to be able to consult, for example, a summary of the history of that client. But that wasn't all. We wanted to make it even more powerful. To achieve this, we built a RAG system where we centralized all the relevant documentation provided by RIMAC. This includes the detailed product documentation, the procedures, and even the contracts they offer. With this approach, when a commercial advisor can ask a question to know what is the summary or the overview of that customer, and at the same time, ask for some suggestions that he can make to that customer. The implementation of this agent brought both internal and external benefits. On the one hand, let's talk about the internal benefit. For the employees, the people who are advising the clients, they obtain the benefit of improving their productivity at work and simpler access to relevant information. On the other hand, external benefits were also obtained, since the clients obtain more concrete, precise, and faster answers to their queries. Both companies, RIMAC and Montes del Plata, were implementing these first projects, but in these companies there is already a strategy of new projects that include the technology area, the finance area, the human resources area, and the sales team. But there are also other types of cases in which we have been working during this year, helping companies to start modernizing their old and aging legacy systems. That way, using Enterprise AI, we can capture the legacy language, understand the intentions, and transform these intentions into new specifications, and interact with the users to check the specifications. And from those specifications, pass these requirements to a knowledge base in GeneXus to be able to build the old system or parts of it in a new language. These are just 3 types or categories of cases, but there are many others. We also help organizations to innovate, and in some cases, even transform them globally. To talk more about this, I would like to invite Sebastián Arriada, CIO of Globant, to share his history. Thank you very much, Seba.
On the contrary, thank to you, Gisela.
Seba, tell me how the use and adoption of AI within Globant started. How were the beginnings?
Look, within Globant, we started working with AI long before the LLM revolution arrived. Our big driver in the company is Martin Migoya, our CEO, who started promoting the use of AI internally in Globant quite a few years ago. Let me give you some examples. We had a mandatory training for all Globers on AI to be proficient in AI. Another interesting case is the creation of our AI manifesto. We also have built a whole studio specialized in helping our customers with an offering on AI topics. And finally, we started implementing AI in various internal processes within the company, where we collected and used data. On that data, we applied different artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques, generated insights, and made decisions based on the knowledge we produced. So we have been working with artificial intelligence for some quite time already. Of course, as with almost every company, the wave, this revolution of LLMs was a significant inside Globant. What we started noticing at that time was that all the Globers were using different available AI tools. So in my role as CIO, one of the things I started to do at that time is to start reviewing how we could make sure that all Globers could maintain that access and could continue the use of AI tools, but in a controlled way, in a way that didn't expose our information and the commitment that we have to security. That's where we started to evaluate platforms to help us solve these issues. One of the platforms we evaluated was a platform that at that time was called GeneXus Enterprise AI. As I said, we evaluated it from a security point of view with different reviews, both code and pen testing. We evaluated it from a scalability point of view. We have 30,000 Globers within the company, having the need to support the access of all those Globers to this technology. And we also evaluated it from the point of view of access to the different available models. After a few months, after some work that we did together, we were able to launch the tool for the use of all Globers based on this platform.
Impressive indeed. Well, you are telling me that 30,000 Globers use artificial intelligence within Globant. Give me some other data. How was the reception and the adoption?
The adoption was, let's see, practically instantaneous. In a few days, we had almost 7,000 Globers actively using the tool, reaching about 28,000 requests per day that we were receiving.
Wow.
To give you an idea of what it was like, we launched the first version with GPT-3. And within 3 weeks, because of all the questions we were getting, we had to come out with GPT-4. Really, the adoption was instantaneous. We started to see a lot of traffic through the platform, and above all, which is one of the things we were looking for, to be able to maintain that service, but controlling and having control over the information that was being handled.
And how did this impact on the teams?
All of us Globers have internally this entrepreneurial spirit, which is part of our company's DNA, which basically means that when we have a problem, when we find something that can be improved, we look for alternatives, either through development, either through solutions, how to take that to a new level. And in this case, it was a good example. The platform served as our internal development platform, which allowed us to democratize the use of AI across all Globers. To give you an idea, it's like the long-tail model, where instead of having one team, 4 people, 10 people generating use cases, we had almost 30,000 Globers accessing the platform and finding new use cases on a day-to-day basis. Use cases that we didn't even imagine. And to give you an example, some of the cases we were able to see in the first months, use cases to generate user stories through a meeting transcript. Use cases to see, for example, to migrate one version of Java to another version of Java, a version of one language to another version of another language, a version to migrate an application from a mainframe with a code inside, a mainframe to a microservices code. Use cases to estimate the story points that carried certain requirements. We really started to see a lot of use cases that definitely, if we had tried to imagine that in a group, we wouldn't have seen them.
They got creative, let's say.
Definitely.
Suppose, Seba, we are in a cafe talking to a colleague and he asks you, what would you recommend him to adopt AI within his company? What advice would you give him?
Let's see. The first one is to do it. It may seem like a simple answer, but the first thing you need is to do it. I say this because this is going to happen anyway. We have no way to avoid it. We are going to see less and less of the artisanal work where I start to make solutions brick by brick. Everybody is going to use AI. So either we start to evaluate alternatives to make this type of solutions available in a safe way, in a scalable way, in our companies, or it will pass us by. That is the first thing. The second thing is to generate reviews. As I was saying a little while ago, security reviews. I can review the code. I can review pen testing. I can understand where the information is being stored, whether it is being stored or not. And the third point is about scalability. When we started, because of our needs, we generated a scalable architecture that consumed different services. In our case, we do not use only one model. We use different models for different use cases. So scalability for us, especially having to serve almost 30,000 Globers, was a very important reason. So once again, the first step is to start, because this is a revolution, this is a wave that we either ride, review, and leverage to our advantage, or we risk being completely overtaken by it.
And finally, I'm interested to know what your vision is for the future of artificial intelligence within organizations.
Look, for me, 2025 for AI is going to be like the year of maturity. So far, we had a lot of testing, proof of concepts, and we certainly found very interesting use cases. But for me, 2025 is going to be the year of maturity, the year where we are going to start seeing AI really in critical cases within the company. What I see is that we are beginning to transform certain critical processes that companies already have today, introducing AI agents into those processes. In some way, we could call these agentic processes. These are processes where some components will be agents, some tasks will continue to involve people, some others may rely on different tools, and certain parts of these critical processes will now be handled by AI agents that will play an active role helping the companies.
Beautiful. Well, if I had to say a claim for the use of AI within Globant, we could say AI everywhere.
Definitely AI everywhere.
Thank you very much, Seba.
Thank you, Gisela.
During this part of the keynote, we have seen different cases where real companies used artificial intelligence to optimize their existing processes. If you want to know more tangible cases of artificial intelligence implementation within organizations and other use cases, I invite you to watch Sofia Abrevaya's deep dive around enterprise AI. Gartner predictions estimate that by the year 2026, 75% of companies will have implemented AI in some of their business processes. Now, we believe and are convinced that this implementation is going to become much faster, and the companies that have done experiments, that have learned and built real things, are going to be better prepared for that revolution. In this section of the keynote, we have seen a few great examples of what type of solutions can be built using our GeneXus and Globant Enterprise AI platforms. To learn more about how to build those applications that use artificial intelligence and at the same time are future-proof, I want to invite Armin Bachmann and Eugenio García, two of our product managers at GeneXus.
Thank you, Gisela. Now I want to dive into how we are building these intelligent solutions that leverage artificial intelligence using our platforms, in particular with GeneXus Next. GeneXus Next is the latest edition of our low-code platform designed especially for this era to create and evolve the systems that you will be asked to build in the future. Here, artificial intelligence plays a central role when we build the software and also plays several roles in the solution that you end up generating with GeneXus Next. Allow me to explain this a bit further. So, let's imagine that you want to get into the e-commerce business. You are going to have to define what part of the business to enter, what problems to solve, what you want to integrate with, and so on. But let's just focus this into a project where you intend to build an e-commerce. So the first thing you do is download GeneXus Next. And now let's take a look at several of the key aspects that distinguish this GeneXus Next from previous versions of our GeneXus low-code platform, but really also from any other development platform in the world. First, what you are going to find is a new IDE, a modern cross-platform development environment, a platform that is more performant than ever and with a dark mode design ideal for today's developers. You are going to see a front end made with web technology. The back end below is now .NET 8 technology, before it was .NET Framework, and additionally, it now runs on Mac, Linux, and Windows. Everything, even the prologue that GeneXus uses when generating your software solution is now supporting 64 bits and any hardware architecture. It was a huge work that took years to the whole team to complete and that you will now be able to enjoy. Secondly, in addition to the IDE, this edition includes tools that support you throughout the entire cycle. One of them, GeneXus Start, allows you to conceptualize a software project like the e-commerce project, create a first prototype, and with a simple instruction like create an e-commerce for me, it generates the data model, a secure back office for creating, deleting, and modifying entries. It also generates APIs, among other features. So we have that back office. Now let's see how the story continues, because we have still more tools to see. The first tool is a Figma plugin that assists designers in creating screens, and if you tell it that it is an e-commerce, it can already start making the designers a design of the shopping cart screens. Also, we have another AI assistant that helps designers prototype those solutions to see if their design implementations are pixel perfect without needing a GeneXus developer. Now, a professional solution, a mission-critical system, is not exhausted with a few prompts that some agents make them as a prototype in 15 minutes. So now we can take the prototype and simply go back to the IDE and continue improving it. And here too, developers will be assisted. They can ask GeneXus to add new entities and the relationships. It will ask you to validate if it is OK, and you say OK. Then you can move forward or modify again and then move forward in this process. They ask GeneXus to make procedures, and it will do them. You ask it to make new APIs with methods that end up calling those procedures, and it also does them for you. All this in very few minutes, speaking in any language in the world. Well, actually, in any language well understood by the best large language model on duty. So, up to here, I have shown you the AI-assisted creation and evolution with GeneXus Next. But what really makes GeneXus Next special is its ability to better understand aspects of your business. Look, the following has been a fundamental feature of GeneXus Next since its inception. We describe a reality we see, we model it, and GeneXus automatically generates the solution based on the description. Now, there is a truth to this. The more knowledge you have that you can model, the better solutions GeneXus can generate. That is, the more you describe your business to GeneXus in a knowledge base, the more and better inferences the code generators can make based on the information you put in your descriptions. And this addition adds an unprecedented power to model better, to model those solutions that Nicolás, Gisela, and Sebastián have been telling you about today. Take a look at this. First of all, going back to my e-commerce objective, let's start with something very simple. Now let's think about the producer, the one who uploads products to this e-commerce. I don't want him to have to type so much. I want the product description to be auto-generated and the categorization to be automatic. And if you think about it, both are functions. The first one, given a text, give me an expanded text. And the other is, given a text and a list of categories, tell me which category it applies to. The point is that these functions did not exist before. Before this era, they were very difficult to implement. It changed. This is now achieved with intelligent agents that assist and manage to perform tasks. For this, in GeneXus Next, there is a new object which has its input and output, plus a prompt with instructions and a context on which to act, and can even call APIs of my system to resolve different situations. So you create that function, the exact function that you need, and within that, you create the specific agent that you require. And how do you call it? Well, once that object is properly defined, you simply invoke it like any other object in the GeneXus knowledge base, and you don't need to concern yourself with all the complexity that's hidden underneath it. But let's go on. Let's think about that e-commerce. Someone producing content, producing a new product, publishing it. Now we also need to establish control and implement an approval flow for that product that has just been built or recently uploaded to the system. Will that product be well defined? Will the photos that are associated with the product match the description? That needs to be validated. So in GeneXus, they define a business process. And this is something they could already do in previous versions. But they define that some of the tasks or decisions can now be carried out by artificial intelligence agents. And therein lies the innovation and the power of modeling once again, with GeneXus taking care of all the complexity underneath. Thirdly, let us now think a little more about the consumer of this e-commerce. I would like users, for example, if they are looking for a gift suitable for someone with certain allergies and who is turning 9 years old, well, the person who is looking for that can put exactly that to the system, exactly that phrase. And the site brings suggestions of products that do not even have those words in their text, nor are they categorized like that, but simply according to the general knowledge that the model has, they are valid suggestions. The solutions that you build now begin to carry the collective wisdom of the entire world when offering options or suggesting tailored alternatives to your users. This that I described to you is semantic search, and it is achieved through advanced vector modeling, which enables more intelligent, precise, and context-aware searches within your data repositories. In GeneXus Next, it is modeled as a new data type called embedding, designed to persist those vectors in the database. Then, as always, a for each with an order clause is used to retrieve the closest records. This means that the most relevant suggestions, or that the best suggestions, appear first, enhancing the overall search accuracy and efficiency. It's as simple as that. But let's continue with the consumer. Let's suppose that he buys, but then he really wants to know how and when that order will arrive, or even via chat to let him know that it has already arrived. Then, for that, an agent is modeled in GeneXus that knows how to answer that question or request in natural language and derive the query to the corresponding APIs to return information or process it. The APIs, the agents, I have already shown you how to create them. But what about the chat interface? Well, you drag a new chat UI control into a layout and associate that control with that agent. So, to create the chat UIs, it's now simpler and more efficient than ever. Okay, so much for what we've built so far. But let me explain the architecture that supports this entire system. Clearly, it has UI layers, a back layer with the business logic, data access, a relational database as always, and now also includes a vector database for the new functionalities. Actually, underneath there is a much more complex world than that, but let's focus on what is important. The distinctive thing is that there is a new and essential component, the basis for my future solutions to be agentic. It is this new platform that connects with the large language models and at the same time isolates the solution built from the large language models revolution. For example, it enables agents to evolve, provide better assistance, and act more effectively without altering a single line of code in my e-commerce or within my knowledge base. And that platform is Globant Enterprise AI. So every application they generate with GeneXus Next will include a powerful built-in component that leverages all the accumulated experience of GeneXus, Globant, and our customers in effectively utilizing next-generation language models in systems. This gives them access to a powerful platform fully equipped to scale, adapt, and respond to evolving business needs seamlessly. To delve deeper into this component and gain a clearer understanding of how Globant Enterprise AI can further empower and elevate your solutions, I want to pass the floor to Eugenio García. But first, I tell you that in the coming weeks, we will begin a progressive rollout of this GeneXus Next that you saw. And I invite you to watch the specialized talks on this topic where you will be able to explore more details about GeneXus Next. And now I leave you with Eugenio.
Hello. Globant Enterprise AI was created to help in the adoption of the capabilities that generative AI is offering us today to build all these new intelligent experiences we have been talking about in the keynote, and to be able to use natural language to interact with the databases we have in companies, to talk with unstructured documentation, and even talk with APIs in ways that were not possible before. Globant Enterprise AI helps us, on the one hand, to become independent of these large language models and AI providers, thus avoiding lock-in with specific vendors or models, and at the same time keep control of how much we want to invest in the use of this kind of technology. Additionally, it empowers our end users with the ability to leverage and reuse knowledge that for years we have had stored in unstructured documents, making it truly actionable, transforming static information into dynamic, useful insights that can drive better decision-making in companies. We are now also able to give users the ability to analyze their own data, asking questions to the data, texts and information that are relevant to their business, and even being able to obtain information through APIs that already exist in many companies. All these tasks can be done with an approach that guarantees the security and confidentiality of the company's and users' data. For this, our platform has been designed so that it can be used in the client's own private cloud, ensuring that all the information, including large language models, is managed securely within this private instance. This is a way that provides our clients with total control over all the information being handled, maintaining security and privacy at all times. We have our platform designed to work in any of the most important clouds, such as Amazon, Google, or Azure. And we also have the possibility of making available the use of our platform in a SaaS mode, software as a service, ensuring flexibility and scalability for our clients' needs. We have built this platform so that on the one hand, in addition to offering us the ability to integrate with any LLM in a totally private environment, we can at the same time have full traceability and observability of everything that happens on it, including all the interactions we are having through all the different assistants that we are generating with the platform, ensuring seamless monitoring and control. The platform is also designed to scale automatically based on the success in the adoption of these AI assistants in each company, while also enabling us to adapt and evolve seamlessly, rolling with the rapid changes and innovations that are taking place today in this dynamic ecosystem. The evolution of large language models has been vertiginous, with new models or updated versions emerging almost daily. The idea behind all of this is to ensure we can keep pace with these changes without needing to rewrite all the integrations we create for incorporating these AI capabilities into our business applications. This allows us to quickly offer users new experiences, smarter systems, while ensuring that everything that we build today remains adaptable and future-proof, that it is capable of seamlessly evolving into the latest advancements in this rapidly evolving and highly dynamic technological landscape that is the world of artificial intelligence. Today, if a company needs or is considering defining a generative AI adoption strategy, it will inevitably face many of the same roadblocks and decisions we had to make during this year and a half to shape what the platform is today. However, we've already done the hard work so they don't have to. This diagram, which is a high-level architecture diagram of Globant Enterprise AI, shows a good part of the complexity that we have had to solve so that we can interact with different sources of information, with different sources of data. Among several of the issues we had to solve, obviously the first was how we interacted with different large language models, with different providers, how we were going to create these agents that would allow us to interact and talk with these structured data, with the documents, with the databases, and even with the APIs, and ensure that all this in turn would be exposed seamlessly and securely to the rest of the company for broader use and interoperation. Ensuring that it's exposed through the same API, which would facilitate the integration of these capabilities and these agents in the business applications, while also offering end users an intuitive interface in which they could interact with each of these agents in a conversational, multimodal way to fully leverage the possibilities and transformative potential that generative AI brings to the table today. To see how the platforms work in detail, I invite you to the deep dives of Gerardo Cuneo and Rodrigo Mendes. As Nicolás said today, and also as we saw in the case of generative AI adoption at Globant, with Sebastián Arriada, there is a way to adopt artificial intelligence in companies. Gabriel Simonet, our Chief Marketing Officer, is going to give us a deep dive in the GeneXus live site, a talk where he will go deeper into what is the path that we have found based on the experience of this last year. Based on this, I wanted in this case to highlight some aspects we find that are extremely important in how companies can begin to adopt these capabilities that generative AI gives us. So the question is, where do companies need to start? The first step in adopting artificial intelligence is to use it as it comes, as Seba Arriada briefly mentioned. For the first step, start using without complex modifications and ensuring that it is securely hosted in your own private instance. This private chat is the gateway, the first point of interaction with artificial intelligence within the enterprise. In this way, users will be able to use it to perform simple tasks such as generating content based on previous content, translating, extracting information from that content, from those documents, summarizing them, etc., etc. In other words, assistance with many of the repetitive tasks they handle daily, tasks that likely consume hours of their time, all without requiring a significant investment or complex implementation. I want to emphasize this. The private chat is not just a chat. It is the space where the team, the people, will actively learn to interact with artificial intelligence and explore its potential applications within their own business context, unlocking new opportunities. This private chat is an enterprise chat that we are offering by default as one of the basic functions of Globant Enterprise AI. Obviously, it's the most basic use of this platform, but it serves as an excellent starting point for progressing toward a broader and more impactful adoption of artificial intelligence capabilities. Like any starting point, it is not the final destination. It is simply our recommendation, a place to begin, grounded in the experience we have gained. It is that first step that sets everything in motion, allowing the magic to happen later. This is where we see users beginning to come forward with use cases we never even imagined, showcasing the platform's potential for innovation. And from here is where users will begin experimenting with different models and providers, creating their own AI agents, sharing them among themselves, integrating them into systems and products, and even building agentic AI systems and workflows with a greater degree of autonomy and efficiency. As always, the long journey begins with that first step, and we invite you to take it with GeneXus Next and Globant Enterprise AI. So, having a clear idea of where to start the AI journey for your company, the next thing we want to discuss is the future of our platforms. And for that, I invite Gastón Milano, our CTO, to share his insights.
Thank you very much, Eugenio. GeneXus Next and GeneXus Globant Enterprise AI really represent, so to speak, the synthesis of all the knowledge and experience acquired over the years. As Eugenio and Armin emphasized, and as Sebastián also told us, these two platforms encapsulate practical applications and a wealth of experience. Over the past 2 years that have felt much longer, perhaps 4 or 5, to me and our development team, full of changes, we have worked with remarkable intensity. What began as GeneXus Enterprise AI, now rebranded into Globant Enterprise AI, represents a journey of exploration, understanding, and innovation. And today we are excited to bring this platform to the GeneXus community. What I feel is immense joy, because I truly believe that what we are delivering today as a platform at this intersection where low code seamlessly meets generative artificial intelligence is something entirely unique in the market. This platform is saving us an extraordinary amount of time, leveraging countless hours of research and numerous real product development hours for clients on tasks that are not only complex, but are becoming absolutely critical for modern enterprises. As Armin was saying, the inclusion of vector databases, and as Eugenio said, the effort to make available all the models that are currently on the market represent a huge step forward in the capabilities of our platforms. Hundreds of models that are available in Globant Enterprise AI today. But also, as Gisela highlighted, there's a clear need to bring certain simplified experiences to businesses and create new, smarter solutions. So we've integrated these elements into the 2 combined products we are talking about today. That being said, we call it a roadmap, and it is a good journey we've traveled. We know that it is not necessarily the only way to incorporate artificial intelligence in the enterprise. However, it's an approach we've discovered, and it has delivered results for many companies worldwide that are successfully adopting AI today. The path of building new experiences is going to continue improving. Digital transformation has traditionally put a lot of screens between humans and what they want to do. We believe artificial intelligence today will eliminate many of those screens and will allow us to communicate in a natural language. I want to bring a personal case of one of the many experiences that will surely be transformed in these months ahead. It will be the year of the construction of new experiences for sure. It is a personal case of an airline ticket refund. Several months ago, I had a trip planned to make, and due to illness, I wanted to cancel it. It is something quite simple. I don't want to expand too much on the particular case, but I do want to say that it was a pretty bad experience from the user's point of view. In the end, they ended up giving me back the points and the money I had allocated for that trip so I could do it another time. But really, all the points of contact I had during my claim were very badly handled. I had several pretty tough conversations with the chatbot, tons of emails, and even suffered trying to find a human somewhere in the process because the chatbot didn't understand me and offered me answers for problems I didn't have, not what I needed, etc., etc., etc. It's an experience that I thought was from a whole different era, but that still remains everywhere. These and many similar others, they are all experiences that have to be transformed. Actually, I want to share an experience similar to a real one that we are working now, in particular in a well-known airline. It is a return experience and agentic workflow. Let's see. I enter to the site and I have eventually a chat channel or a voice channel where I'm going to be attended by an assistant. I don't know if it's human or not. I'm going to say to the system my intention, which is to return a ticket due illness. It's going to ask me for the requirements. In this case, obviously, I have to send a certificate through images or PDFs from the doctor that tells the system if Gastón is really not fit to travel. And well, after a few minutes, or in some cases seconds, my issue is closed and the ticket payment is returned to me. This represents the user's perspective. From the user's point of view, it's an interface that, in this case, that was just a chat. There's no significant innovation from a chat experience perspective. It was kept simple in natural language without requiring any special commands. I talked, I uploaded a document exactly as it was provided to me by the medical institution. I uploaded it and they simply said yes. That's what I expect as an end user. However, on the flip side, those of us who develop software know that achieving what I'm showing here until recently was an extremely complex and challenging process to automate and orchestrate with AI. Why is that? Because behind it is not only the issue of experiences, but also the issue of the processes that are executed behind it. The process that obviously looks at whether the document that I give to the system is validated against the return rules, whether the document can somehow verify that it is from an institution, that the institution exists, that the date is okay, that it is from the person that travels, and so on and so forth. What will truly happen on the developer side is that someone will come into our platform with the intention of creating an agentic process where certain tasks are handled by people, other tasks are handled by agents, some other maybe by tools, and some by a combination of both agents and people and tools working together seamlessly with different levels of interaction and control also by humans and other monitoring agents and tools. And I'm going to be able to communicate that in natural language in the first instance as a way of building. By the way, when I say in natural language, I mean that it also can be with voice in real time. Artificial intelligence models today are very advanced in what is real-time voice. They support and handle very well interruptions, fast response times, which before was something very complex. After I communicate with this case, with this assistant called Iris, it will give me the process that Iris thought of for an airline ticket refund. In this case, Iris organizes several tasks, including the initial interaction between the user and the assistant. It establishes a point where validation rules are applied and then identifies two paths based on whether the validation rules can be automated or not. If the rules can be automated, an agent will handle the task and complete the return. However, if there's uncertainty or the business rules require additional assurance, the task will be escalated to a person for the appropriate resolution. So, let's take a closer look. Let's see how, for example, the person interacts. While the AI agents work autonomously, well, there's not much to show for that part. It's just about training the artificial intelligence behind those AI agents to make decisions, interpret text, analyze images, and determine if the data is correct or not. Additionally, as Eugenio was saying, the system can call some API of my business and validate against it to ensure accuracy and avoid any kind of hallucination or incorrect output during the process. So there, regarding the training part, there's not much we can see. On the other hand, I can show you, yes, for example, the user experience, how the person who works in the airline in this particular case would see it, and how they will be able to see the claims of different types, how they'll be able to select the last claim, maybe also sorted by urgency, and how they will be able to enter to see what is going on. They can check what the conversation between the agent, in this case let's call them the travel agent, and the person looks like. Then they will simply say, well, I see here that this data is correct, maybe check other details, approve, and move forward. In this case, the communication won't have to be handled by the person, but instead by the agent. Once approved by the person, the agent will answer the human being and will respond following the airline's policies on how to communicate with its customers. This approach not only results in an increase in the quality of communication between end users and the airline, but also significantly optimizes the processes behind it, improving efficiency in terms of both time and costs. So really, these types of experiences present a unique and meaningful challenge, requiring careful alignment between automation and human oversight. This thing that I was telling you earlier, that there's going to be a combination of chat, voice, and direct handling, it's not going to be just on web screens, it's not going to be just on a website, but it can also be in direct handling with augmented reality. We're going to see more and more voice and augmented reality on different types of devices. And that's certainly a challenge. In this case, we have shown a very simple yet real case where we are combining a new experience with an optimization of a business process through the use of agents and people to solve that business, where the experience is transformed, but also the business processes behind it. Clearly, the challenges are not only about experiences. We are going to face many challenges and continue to encounter obstacles as we work to effectively apply artificial intelligence within the enterprise, ensuring it integrates seamlessly and delivers tangible value across diverse business scenarios. And this year, 2025, as Seba Arriada said, is a year in which we will be able to consolidate the use of artificial intelligence within companies. We have worked hard for this, but we have to continue working on everything that is called the use of artificial intelligence in a responsible way. The models we are using, what quality they have, where their data comes from, the biases they may hold, the security and privacy of my information, and the observability required when working among people and agents are all crucial. In these scenarios, accountability becomes key, determining who is responsible for each decision. That's why we must rely heavily on the systems that we've already built, our core systems, leveraging their APIs to robustly validate the use and decision-making workflows within my business, ensuring alignment with core principles and maintaining trust throughout the whole process. And here, let's say, an area we are actively working on after having gone through an entire research phase is the use of small models specifically adapted to my business. What does that mean? Many may recognize the term fine-tuning as tailoring a small model for specific use cases, such as deploying it on an IoT device, a Raspberry Pi, or even within a pair of smart glasses, essentially running, let's call it, on the edge. I believe this kind of development will begin unlocking new use cases, scenarios where, until now, companies have often been hesitant to share their data or send it to large external models or providers due to concerns about privacy, control, and data security. And therefore, companies like Meta are working hard on open models and smaller models that can be easily adapted to fit the specific needs of the different types of businesses and industries. What we are going to incorporate in Globant Enterprise AI specifically is the ability to leverage all the data from our companies and create and have particular models for specific processes within each organization. While we are addressing various challenges, we firmly believe that, in the end, people remain the most important asset companies have today to drive the application of artificial intelligence in business processes and deliver innovative new experiences that truly transform their business operations. The data within these companies must be effectively connected and transformed, not just into information, but into actionable knowledge. This knowledge can then be applied across different processes and experiences, serving as a true differentiator. Ultimately, the companies that excel will be those that leverage their information and knowledge to enhance the lives of their users and consumers, using it as a tool for innovation and improvement. Thank you very much. I leave you with Nicolás again to close the keynote.
Thank you, Gastón. I wanted to end this keynote with a reflection and a piece of advice. The reflection is a personal one. I admire companies that take bold bets. Let me give you an example. Tesla, declaring that the future of cars lies in electric motors, not internal combustion engines. Similarly, SpaceX, also from Elon Musk, proclaimed that the future of space travel would depend on reusable rockets, not disposable one-time use rockets. These are transformative ideas that have redefined entire industries. Let's go to an example a little closer to home, shall we say. Globant, 20 years ago, said that you could build a global IT services company from Argentina. Well, so did we. GeneXus is a company that has always made bold bets. It has made at least two major ones. The first is the foundational bet, the one that gave birth to the company. Over 30 years ago, with Breog and Gonda, we envisioned that the future of software development lay in creating it automatically, leveraging the power of artificial intelligence to revolutionize how applications are built. That's the first bet. The second bet was much more recent, just 2.5 years ago. In May 2022, we decided, along with Breogan, that the future of GeneXus technology and the key to expanding it globally at the scale and pace we envisioned was to form a partnership with Globant. So the time has come to reflect and take stock, to ask ourselves, how did we fare with those two bets? The first bet, I believe, has clearly proven to be the right one. Nobody else is doubting that the future of software development lies in code generation. Until recently, we had to explain why that was the right approach. But now we don't need to justify it anymore. We can debate the capabilities we have or don't have, or even the speed of innovation, but nobody questions code generation as the cornerstone for the future of software development. The second one, let's say, how have we done with our most recent bet? Well, we have done very well, exceeding expectations in many aspects. The result? Well, we're expecting to close 2024 with growth of over 40%, which is a rate much higher than what we had before the agreement with Globant. So I truly believe we made the right bets, both of them. And let me tell you, I'm not sharing this for you to say, oh wow, look at them, how amazing they're doing. No. I'm telling you this because we made those bets knowing you were betting alongside us, placing your trust in us, and walking this journey together as part of the same vision. We were able to be bold and bet, and to continue to make these bets because the GeneXus community has always stood by us and supported us. So today, this is the moment to thank you, to sincerely thank you for everything you have done for us. Thank you very much. Secondly, as I was saying, I have a piece of advice. When you find yourself in this situation, when things are flourishing, progress is being made, and there is a revolution underway, it is the perfect time for renewal. We all need to embrace change and renew ourselves. GeneXus must renew itself, and all the companies within the GeneXus community must do the same. Naturally, we have already begun this process, as you've seen. We have GeneXus Next, we have Globant Enterprise AI, and we've continued this renewal across all areas of the company. For example, one specific aspect of this renewal is our new logo. This is the refresh, the updated identity we are embracing and using to represent the next GeneXus chapter. So from now on, I also believe that each of you, each member of the GeneXus community, needs to go through a refresh. That's my personal particular advice, and I want to be very specific. I believe there are times when concrete actions are necessary, when we need to take that first step into the new world that's coming. I recall that a similar situation happened to me when the mobile revolution started gaining traction. At the keynote back then, I said, look, you know what? You really need to go out and buy yourself a smartphone. Some people criticized me saying, how can you recommend that people do that? But at that time, I felt strongly that it was the right thing to do. Let's say the first step is for each of us to truly understand the revolution, to grasp it by getting hands-on and experiencing what's happening. So, my concrete recommendation, not in abstract terms, but directly to each of you, is this. The first thing you should do is go into Globant Enterprise AI and complete the easiest task with Enterprise AI, create a private chat. Do it for yourself or do it for one of your customers, but take that first step. You create a private chat and start creating AI assistants around that private chat. That's the first thing you have to do. The second thing you have to do, in my opinion, is to get into GeneXus Next and start to see how is the new way of developing systems, how you are going to develop using more and more AI assistants. I believe that if we accomplish those two things, we will get into this new revolution, we will renew ourselves, and the opportunity that the GeneXus community will have is enormous. in relation to everything else. There is a renovation in all the systems that have to be done in the world. We have to redo them or put artificial intelligence on top of them. The GeneXus community is the community that is best prepared to do that if we get into this revolution. Thank you very much, friends, and I wish you a very happy new year.